So we know that the town hall was on Monday, and it was nothing groundbreaking, nothing amazing, nothing like that just blew me away. You know, there were some cool things that happened. I think we do have to let the team, after this first quarter is coming to an end, be happy that they did finish a lot of their goals and things like that. And that is a big thing for them to do, considering they just shrunk down their staff. Though we did hear for the second time about one thing that got pushed back because a dev got sick. This does remind me that even though they moved into this agile process, there is not a lot of extra, brain power around, and they are having people work on things at the same time so that land is being worked on while something else is being worked on. So if a dev does get sick or need time off, it can completely stop a certain area from moving forward, which was something kind of interesting. So as we get into the town hall, we started off with, and the reason why I was commenting on that was Aggie was going over, the agile first quarter, the fact that they went through 5 sprints, that they felt pretty good about the sprints, and that pretty soon we should get an idea of what they're going to plan to do in the next 5 sprints. And one of the things I'm expecting to see is, and this updating roadmap, is to see if they can learn from any mistakes they might have made the first time, put things in more realistic timelines on the things that'll take them longer, and see if we can't have them hit it and hit everything on it, because that would be pretty amazing. They got close this time. They got close, but there's a couple things that they didn't get to. And thanks for all the emojis in the chat, guys. I know I'm kind of monologuing a little bit here while I go over this. Let me just get my little name off of there. But we had Tyler on from Nifty Arcade, and for those that don't know, I am an ambassador to the Nifty Arcade platform, and so I'm gonna go over their platform a little bit later on in today's stream. But for now, just recapping what they did in the town hall. The platform is built for a reward share type of thing. You lend out a deck and you both get some of the rewards. You rent a deck, you get part of those rewards, but the person giving it to you gets part of it. This is something that they do. They really wanted to talk to the people who are renting out decks and cards in mass to maybe think about coming over here and renting. And they wanted to let you know, and this is something that Tails beats the drum on a lot, that I don't know if they explained to you that well, but the reason why the bots are renting cards from you guys and playing this game is because they're still making a profit in it, because rentals are still so cheap. And we really want to make sure that maybe comes to an end. It shouldn't be that easy for somebody to rent a deck, make it into Diamond, make really good rewards. At the end of the season, not only earn Soulbound rewards cards, pull a couple packs, earn a bunch of SPS, but be like $10 over profit in what they spent to rent those cards. I feel like that's a mistake that we've allowed to happen into this system, because too many of us have turned to the rental bots and just let the rental bots take over. While Nifty Arcade has an actual very good anti-bot system, so that you can make sure that your cards not only get used by a real player, but when you look at the 50-50 split that you end up getting from those cards compared to what you can get from renting them out in this kind of depressed rental market, it might actually be better than renting your cards out if you have enough cards to put together an actual deck that you can rent out. Now, I will say that you could go play for a token, like an Archmage token or an Xbot token, and bot those cards, and you're going to do better than if you were to use Nifty Arcade. But if you're a player who wants to take kind of a stance against that, at least a little bit, then this is a way you can still make more money right now than you can renting out a deck, until Tails says that you can't rent a deck and make profit while doing it so simply, because that seems to be what's going on right now. But he went on a long speech about how all the bot producers out there, the Archmages and the Xbox and their teams, came to them and they helped them be able to ban bots, truly ban them out of their ecosystem, and make sure that these decks are ending up in the hands of real players. and that's pretty exciting. And not only do we have all the Splinterlands decks over there, I'm hoping to see more bigger players think about bringing their decks over there. I have 2 decks I used to blot that I now scholar out to 2 players. They can have them until I need to stake those cards onto land. And I'm doing my best to maybe increase my card collection so I don't have to pull those cards back. But we're going to have to see, because I also need to pull together a lot of DEC. But, you know, they had some important tools. But one of the big things about Nifty is that they're a great onboarding experience for people, because somebody can come into the platform and instead of trying to fight their way through bronze and with level 1 cards when they're first trying the game, if somebody can get them to go over to Nifty and click on one of the bronze decks that they're renting out from Splinterlands that are going to be available most of the time, because those decks are only out for like a month at a time, then they're gonna be at least battling with level 2 cards, which might allow them to win a lot more battles without having to do the exact perfect lineup. And I see Ape is just going off there in the chat, so that's kind of funny. But if you grow your hair out, Ape, instead of cutting it all off like me, we'll have to see how you look, because I know your hair is short for now. One of the big other things that they're talking about is they are talking to guilds out in the game, and not Splinterland guilds, but play to earn guilds, and trying to be able to bring the play to earn guilds in, because Nifty can offer an interesting thing to them where they can have guild management of ownership of a lot of cards, and then set up accounts and scholar them out to people and have the guild pull back some of the earnings that those players make. So you can bring in an entire guild of people, set up an entire set of decks for them, and then let them play and earn. You'll get a report card on how they're doing and all of these different things. And we're going to go over some of that when we get into the Nifty platform. But it's a really exciting time and Tyler's a really interesting time. The other interesting special guest we had in the town hall was Dave McCoy. He's one of the community leaders, and I have to admit that I've talked to Dave a lot, and I know him from the game, and I'm very glad to see him in this position. But it was interesting that what he came to talk about was that the community leaders worked together to get a re-proposal of the SPS for a listing. And one of the things that he's actually saying in his post that they wouldn't say last time, and that he said quite clearly, is that they are targeting a Coinbase listing or a Binance listing. And that's one of the big things that was in my mind. It's like, if I'm giving you 20 million SPS, I want Coinbase or I want Binance. I can't even use Binance, but at least I know that being on Binance is a big thing for a coin. Gives it a chance to build up a lot of liquidity. And just it's a way it's just like a status symbol for a large part of the world that can use Binance. For me in the United States, Coinbase would be bigger for me, but maybe it wouldn't be bigger for everybody else. So we'll have to see. I haven't actually read through this proposal and voted on it yet, but I do remember that after hearing from Ali on the last town hall, I did change my vote from a no to a yes, and I think a lot of us did that to where it was at 54%. Last time, but this time they want an additional 10 million SPS. So it's going to be interesting to see where the community lands on this with Dave McCoy and the re-proposal, and maybe a little bit more clear guidance. Will we vote yes to spending that much SPS to get us a listing? It's kind of an interesting thing, but if FPS is just going to keep going down, maybe we should just spend it while we can. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think I'm seeing in the chat, most people would agree that like a listing on a top 1 or 2 or 3 exchanges, that sounds a lot better. Like, hey, we're going to take this money, we're going to go get us a listing on one of the top 3 exchanges. Not, hey, we're going to go get it on the top 10. Because depending on where you get your list, there could be some weird exchanges that you consider top 10. Yeah, in the chat here on Splinterlands TV seems to agree that Binance would be very good. We're getting some live feedback as I go through my town hall recap. We got the words from Wizards / like release updates from Investigator. The big thing was that market items will now expire after 30 days. This means that maybe somebody who's like put something up for rent for 2 DEC and hasn't been back to the game in 6 months, well, they're going to stop getting their 2 DEC because eventually it's going to time out. Also, they have the 1 DEC fee now for making a listing on the market or for a rental. This is going to, in my opinion, inadvertently raise the price of certain rentals. I know I did a change on mine that some people might have seen kind of silly at the time, but I made it so that my cards could not be listed for less than 2 DEC, which would mean 4 DEC for the rental, 3 DEC profit if it actually gets rented. But it's because, let's say I have 5 cards that are level 3, and I think they're decent cards that somebody could rent. They're going to have to pay 2 DEC if they want to take them. I might only rent one of those near the end of the season, one time. But that 4 DEC will pay for that listing of all those cards in that season, and I don't have to worry about the stuff being repriced in those lower ranges. It would only be repriced if somehow the price shot up past 2 DEC on these smaller cards. And some people might think it's impossible. Nobody will ever rent those cards from you. And I'm telling you, consistently, I rent them out at 2 DEC. And these are cards that other people are renting out at like 0.4 DEC. Because eventually all those 0.4s are gone. A bot wakes up and says, I want this card on my decks, and he just happens to snag a couple of mine when he does his mass rental. So hopefully this maybe helps with that problem of rental fees being, I think, artificially low because of repricing bots and bot owners knowing how repricing bots work. There were some updates for third-party marketplace and developers, more tech modernization updates. We didn't get any of the big ones yet, but they did fix a issue on mobile devices where you could not drag and drop packs to open them. So that had to be very annoying. I know if you are stuck playing on mobile, I feel for you, because until tech modernization is completely fixed and they are ready to be a total mobile platform website where you can display it on any device in any sizing, iPad, phone, Samsung tablet, any of those types of things like they want to be. It's just got to be horrendous trying to play the game with those kind of problems. We did get some other fixes. I'm not going to really go through these, but it's oh, look, they did make a change. Even though we set aside packs, if for some reason Rebellion doesn't come out when we thought it would, instead of getting DEC instead of packs, you're going to get a card instead of a pack. So that's kind of an interesting thing. I hope we don't reach that point, because I know we don't want to, see this where we're actually getting, ooh, you would have got a pack, but instead you got cards. So that's kind of a funny little thing. I'm not going to go through all of these. We'll get to where Cryptomancer came out. That he admitted that right now he's between major projects. That does mean that we have one big dev that could get moved on to something, and a dev who's consistently put in good work and finished things up. So I'll be interesting to see in this next set of sprints where Cryptomancer ends up and what he ends up working on, because we can pretty much almost guarantee that will come out in that quarter. His next major project, he thinks, is going to be features for guilds and the guild buildings and those updates that they were talking about doing, but we don't have a lot of information about any of that. On Brawlhalla with Weirdbeard, I'm going to give Weirdbeard a shout out, and this is going to jump ahead to the Q&A time that isn't really covered in these posts that they do. But in the Q&A, they got asked a little bit about how people feel about bots winning tournaments and brawls, and Weirdbeard pretty much called out, almost, it felt like he was calling out Aggie and Matt in their bot stance, and like just calling people out without directly doing it, for the fact that he absolutely hates that. He thinks it's absolutely ridiculous that bots are even allowed to go in those places. And there was some talk about us actually doing a DAO proposal to say that bots are against the terms of service for tournaments and brawls, which would mean that all third-party bot runners who want to advertise their bot would have to say that their bot was not able to be used in tournaments and brawls. Otherwise, that bot producer would be, at odds with the terms of service of Splinterlands, and they could figure out a way to enforce that and maybe not let that service run. It wouldn't be hard to ban any of those accounts, as usually you have to give them your account name and posting and some kind of posting authority to sign up, and it's not hard to look on the Hive blockchain and see who has your posting authority. So they can definitely do that. Yeah, and Mondroid, I hate it too. One of the big reasons I don't even play tournaments that much, and I don't really cover them in my videos, and I'll tell this to Weirdbeard, why I don't even suggest anybody go plays in the bots in the tournaments, is because of the bots. It's like, it's just going to be frustrating. You're gonna run into these perfect teams and these people with the perfect cards, and they're not even there playing. They're just collecting free money, and it's absolutely ridiculous. And I really hope that we can get the community managers to put that proposal together with Weirdbeard and get it out. The idea that it's not like a priority, or Weirdbeard feels like, other things were in front of him. I mean, just saying that it's not allowed makes a ton of sense to me. We do have another Gladiator tournament coming up on Friday at 3 p.m., but like, same thing. I don't really advertise these because people can just come in and win them with bots. And honestly, bots are going to have the best chance in Gladiator card tournaments, because they're going to know the best lineups to use with those. Now, this one is owned Gladiators, so maybe it's not as prevalent because you'd actually have to have, Akora and the best cards to compete, but we'll have to see. On Splinterlands TV, I can see that we are all starting to realize that there isn't going to be a way to redeem our points for cards like we were hoping. So look at all these people, I think, who had them saved up and got a ton of callouts. We had a really funny clip of the week where Butters just got gifted a ton of gold cards to give away to the community, and that was pretty wild. I haven't had something like that happen to me yet. When is somebody just going to flood me with gifts to give away? But I'm just joking. I just thought I'd throw that out since I'm here on Splinterlands TV, making them sit through me doing my town hall recap. We got, some interesting pictures here. We did find out about the new SPS promo character. What is this, V-Ruz? So they took the little goblin that we see when we claim our SPS and they turned him into a card, and it's the promo card for the SPS stakers that we passed the proposal for. So we passed a proposal for them to create a card, and since they needed to create a promo card in quarter one, I think that they decided to do kind of a combination. They're going to go ahead and do the proposal that some people, we weren't really sure that they would do, create the promo card where you're able to get him based on the amount of SPS that you have staked, and he's going to count as the first promo character released this year. So it's not going to be a promo character like Waka or Lux, where they were for sale. Instead, it's going to be this one for the SPS stakers. So that's pretty cool. If you didn't know that was coming, that's absolutely going to be coming. You are going to be able to claim a couple of these for free. It does mean it will probably be a common card, and it will be based on a certain amount of SPS that was staked. Maybe we can go take a look at that proposal after this really quickly on Splinterlands TV at least, and we could double check, how many of these you might be likely to get. We had this little poster they made for V-Ruz and showing him, collecting that SPS. It's kind of funny. They were like, what is this? And I'm like, well, I guess it's a bag of SPS tokens, just not as defined as they are in here, because that's what he goes and he grabs. So it's pretty interesting. We got to look at the land surveying page so we can see here the idea that you'd be able to come and you'd be able to add the building in the box, the time vaults, the unstable totems, and you'd be able to do them. There was also a little point in the question and answer that to make these permanent, but say if you buy them now, they're cheap. And if you want to do this in the future, when you claim your land, they would be more expensive. And Aggie was kind of open to that idea. So these could become permanent bonuses for when you want to survey your land. But it seems like there's going to be a time frame where it's going to be the prices they've advertised. And then they were talking about it being maybe like 3 or 4 times as expensive, which is interesting. Oh, you think he's carrying credits? Damon thinks he's carrying credits. Maybe. I mean, but he's the goblin that fetches our SPS. So, isn't it SPS? You think it's credits, though, huh? I could see that. And so that goes, that kind of ends the major parts of the town hall. The question and answer section of this week, nothing like super, super spicy came out of that, except for that part where Weirdbeard got asked about bots within the tournaments. And, there wasn't any big news. Like last week, we got the news that summoners are not needed on land. I don't remember there being anything else that like totally messed it up. And people are saying it's 100% credits according to IGN Daemons, but nobody else is really backing them up on that in the chat yet. Hey, Bootops, I see you're out there. Give you a little quick shout out. And we'll stop our town hall recap here. Thanks for sitting through that with me, guys.